Let me tell you a story. Whilst I was going in high school, people you really bond with at that time, it's usually just people who are going into the same class as you. Not necessarily because you really admire those people, you really want to be friends with them, right? But you spend in a room the most amount of time with these people, right? So naturally you get to know them and they'll slowly just merge into a group. Seemingly this was the case for me as well. I got into a gaming group, so typically my inner circle were all just gamers watching, some were watching anime, some were playing games. Like they would bring their own console, like their own Nintendo Switch, to class, so we'll play in recess. That was kind of the whole gimmick of my group. To be frank, really, I didn't really quite bond with these type of people. Like they were all right. I never ate lunch alone. I didn't quite like mesh with them, but they were similar to me. Speaking of which, it was really one guy. His whole thing he would do is that he would point out inaccuracies that other people were doing. He would do this a lot with me. See, the one thing I really did at that time, as being this insecure, just socially awkward type and try to fit in with the cool kids even back then. One thing I would do most often in conversations, I would use kind of long, like advanced vocabulary, and it wasn't necessarily the words or phrasing that was correct to use in the sentences. I would say words, it would be incorrect, and you bet your ass he will point it out. So he, he would he would call me out and not roll on with the joke. He would call me out in person alone. He'd call me out in front of the boys, or the absolute worst thing, he would point me out in front of girls. The one thing of a of a teenager boy does not want to do is to appear uncool in front of girls. That's the worst thing. Frequently say things like, what do you mean by that, Stuart? Oh, that's not how you speak. Like, what are you saying, man? Obviously, I found this really obnoxious. Naturally, when he's pointing out my insecurities, you'll just feel kind of defenseless because you just get caught red-handed about a bad trait you have, and you can't really like fire back without looking like an asshole. At that time, just being around kind of my friends and this guy and all around the class, I felt like I didn't have any kind of respect. Like you didn't have any stance, kind of arguing with people, and like you would appear kind of inferior. Feeling inferior is just a really bad feeling, and it's really frustrating at that point. Challenge is really scary. Confrontation is scary. If you live alone and you're not really doing much, you're not really doing it much with your life, suddenly you just get phone calls from friends or family who haven't seen you in a long time. You just kind of get anxious about answering the phone. You're expecting to get a question about what you're doing and something like that. Like this anxiousness just builds up, and then you get this really tension that you don't really know what to do. You just feel like no one really respects you. Of course, when we talk about respect, you will always just kind of face this one asshole who will never treat you really good. I think that's really common. Like for instance, I worked in a grocery store. I had like one colleague just inappropriately be kind of rude to me. I don't know really why that was it, but maybe he didn't like my kind of arrogance way I was talking, maybe something I was doing, like subconscious things that he didn't quite like. You can't really handle things like that when you feel you're not gaining any respect from not only the people around you, but you also feel like just strangers trying to meet different people. You just find that they get to know you, they're friendly, but just slowly retract from you, like something feels off. You need to kind of look at yourself and just ask, is this actually deserving? Do I actually deserve being treated unfair? Why does anyone, including strangers, just kind of treat me with a cold shoulder? Simply put, you don't have anything to show to the people who are around you. You don't take accountability on the things that you said you were going to do. You kind of procrastinate important tasks. Maybe the most guilty one is that parents and just close friends are expecting things from you, but you never deliver on your promises. I want you to imagine this. If you're sitting at a poker table, you just have very bad cards. Like you got a 2 and a 7 of different suits. You have technically the worst possible hand at the board. You can try to bluff all you want, right? But if people can call out your bluff, you just don't have any standings around the table. You're going to lose. People call out your bluffs and they call out this facade that you have, kind of this arrogant, cocky attitude, especially that I had back in the day. When people kind of attack you with criticism, you may respond immediately with anger or just try to deny their claim. But the reason why it feels so bad is because their claim, you know deep down, it's true. And the reason why we lash out about these criticisms, think that everyone is at fault, is because you just feel really naked. You don't have any weapons against people who judge you, and you know just deep down that they're true. It hurts, right? You don't have any defense. If you want more respect, my friend, you need to get to work. You need to start on self-improvement. Not necessarily to get revenge about people who treat you like shit, but when you start investing in yourself, you'll get a clear mind, clearer visions, you get something to stand on, something to fight on. Eventually, you will feel the point where you don't necessarily hold grudges against people. If you're really reflective, you know that the criticisms people come with is not necessarily attacks, but it's rather are criticizing you because they are kind of caring for you. The gift that keeps on giving is that when you start on this self-improvement, you'll see a lot more about good people. You'll attract good people with good morals. Part of which is that in my case that I've noticed with the self-improvement is that good people is often the people who have been through similar struggles. They can relate to the kind of work you're doing, right? For instance, if you're at the gym and you're working really, really hard, you might get compliments from other guys who are really strong, working really hard. Good people will attract people who take accountability, and that creates respect, that kind of mutual bond between people. Naturally, when you get more results and you get more resources, the hateful comments that you might receive from other people, it will kind of be of no purpose anymore, because if they're kind of criticizing you and being hateful towards you, the tone that you naturally create is that, or like, you're shitting on me, right? Like, look at yourself. That's you fire back with similar statements. Naturally, by doing activities, improving upon them, you will prove their statements wrong. Like, they'll look like an idiot for you, kind of criticizing you for like improving in yourself. It kind of seems stupid. Having no respect from people really sucks. The misery that you'll find from that kind of situation, it is really a gift. The gift itself is not necessarily that you want an escape from it, but the misery and the stressing feeling that you find yourself in that situation, it is a call for action. Tough times are the way that you find yourself most conscious at. You're not just following trends, just moving along at the pace where other people want you to be at. The call for action is simply a gift for you to kickstart and develop your new mindset. The most dangerous thing is that being in this kind of awoken state where you are conscious about the faults but you don't really act upon it. The most dangerous thing is that you'll procrastinate, knowing that you should be working but you're not working, and the fact that you're not working is stressing you out. You need to get yourself the call for action that'll make you get out of bed and do the work. If you don't really feel about the call for action, I want you always to try to think about your future wife, your future kids. Give yourself the urgency to act now, because the acts that you have the possibility to do right now are needed. And fuck it, if you're not thinking about your future wife, future children, think about me, man. Just simply think about me, a stranger on the internet telling you that you need to work harder, because I want to see people thrive, and I want to see people get out of the rut. Your actions are needed. If it's not needed right now, it will be needed in the future. I will then urge you to get work. Stay strong and work on. That will create your respect that you need.